Joining us now, Curtis Ellis. Curtis, a senior policy advisor with America First Policies. Curtis also was on the Trump campaign 2016. Curtis was on the transition team. Curtis was a government official at the Department of Labor, very high executive. Now he's a senior advisor for America First Policy. He's an author, he's a writer, he's a columnist, and he's an FOJ friend of John. Hey, Curtis, great to have you.
Hey, it's great to be here, John.
So we have survived, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday without Ann. We have survived in the household. How many days is that, Colleen? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 6 days. We've got one more day to go, and I screwed some things up, but I've only got one more day to go. And then
Did you
she's
burn
back.
The pancakes?
Life. Yes, I did burn the pancakes. My son comes in and he says, "Why every time you're making something, Dad, why do you have to put the oven fan on and open all the windows?" Yeah, that's a trend they're going, right? Everything I do is burn.
You don't want to set off the sprinklers.
Set off the sprinkler system in Chesapeake, Virginia. Curtis Ellis, I really wanted to have you on, as always, but you have a great column that you did. It's called Anti-Semitism and Socialism, Peas in a Poison Pod. Explain.
Yeah, well, we're seeing the Democratic Party is mainstreaming anti-Semitism, and at the same time that it's mainstreaming socialism. And I explain that this is no coincidence. It's no accident. In fact, socialism, Vladimir Lenin was fond of saying, anti-Semitism is the socialism of fools. Now, Lenin, whatever you may think of him, you have to admit he knew something about socialism. And I would say that Ilhan Omar is no Einstein, so if you're looking for a fool, you don't have to look too far beyond her.
Right.
Now, Karl Marx wrote, he is the great theorist of socialism and communism, and they parade his photograph around Red Square. They used to when the Soviets ruled, and he was the granddaddy of socialism. Well, before he formulated his scientific theory of socialism, he was a famous anti-Semite. And he wrote, in fact, socialism springs from his anti-Semitism, and he wrote this himself. He laid it all out in an essay he wrote in 1844, The Jewish Question. But without getting into his impenetrable prose, I'll just sum it up so you don't have to read it.
Okay.
He said, the God of Judaism is money. And the Jews are an antisocial element that have contributed to the rule of money in the world. We all worship money because Jews worship money, and they've taught the Christians how to worship money. That's basically what he said. You can read my column, and I give the exact quotes. I'm not exaggerating here. Basically, this is pretty easy to understand. To people like Karl Marx and Ilhan Omar, Jews are the evil capitalists. They are the greedy, money-hungry, money-worshipping people who exploit the masses, exploit the rest of us. This is a figure that has been around, a caricature that's been around for centuries. William Shakespeare wrote it in The Merchant of Venice. You had the character Shylock, the moneylender.
Right. And
he wanted a pound of flesh, literally wanted to cut somebody's flesh off to repay the loan.
Right.
You would not. This is a horrible, evil, ugly, anti-Semitic caricature that's been around forever. And this became what Karl Marx did, is he merely, he took it to the next level. He dressed it up. He took this ancient cultural anti-Semitism and he made it into a scientific theory. Well, It's not just the Jews who exploit people. It's the capitalists. It's the money-hungry, capital-owning class. They learned their craft from the Jews, but it's no longer the Jews themselves. But then he goes on, Marx says, once we get rid of capitalism, we'll get rid of Jews. So the only difference, this is very instructive. I didn't go into this in the column, but as I was writing it, it occurred to me. This is very instructive because it shows that the only difference between the communists and the Nazis is they reversed the order. The communists said, once we get rid of capitalists, we'll get rid of Jews. And Hitler and the Nazis said, once we get rid of Jews, we'll get rid of capitalism. Mm-hmm. They're both socialists. Mm-hmm. That's my point. The Nazis were socialists. This whole idea that on the left you have communists and opposed to them on the right you have Nazis. No, communists and Nazis are both on the left. Mm-hmm. And they are all anti-Semites at their root.
Mm-hmm. Curtis, let me ask you.
If you read, I don't suggest you do it, and I could probably be banned from all broadcast media forever if I were to suggest it. However, I have done this so you don't have to. I have read translations of some of Hitler's speeches, and he sounds like a communist. Mm-hmm. He's talking about the international financier capitalists who are controlling the world and humiliating Germany and everything else. Mm-hmm. And it all sounds like communism and communists and socialists. Then he takes that next step and he goes into the crazy land and he says, and it's all the Jews. That's the only difference.
Right, so he's just lumping them together. But let me ask you this. The anti-Semitic statements made last week by Representative Omar, and there was supposed to be a rebuke in the House, rebuking her, maybe censoring her, like Steve King made some really dumb comments, and the Republicans rebuked him, censored him, and threw him off all the committees. So not only do they not rebuke her or mention her or criticize her or call her out, they turn it into something that has to do with hate speech against Muslims and other indigenous peoples or whatever it is. And then she claims victory and does a victory lap. So not only did she get away with it, but they didn't even reprimand her. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah, they turned it into basically a Hate America resolution. See, they threw in they went right to their old ways. We must condemn hate speech. We must condemn anti-Semitism too, I guess, sort of. And we must condemn oppression of the white people's oppression of people of color. We must condemn homophobia. We must condemn police profiling. We must condemn crabgrass on your front lawn. We must condemn everything that we know Americans do all the time, every day, because they're just horrible people. They didn't say that last part, but that's the inference. Mm-hmm. They go through the whole litany of things that must be condemned. And the only reason why would Congress need to pass such a resolution with that covered all of that stuff, that had all that stuff in it, only because they must believe that that's going on everywhere all the time. So Mark Levin was right. Basically, they turned it into a Hate America resolution. We condemn racist America. And that's the way Ilhan Omar read it, and that's the way it turned out. They basically turned everything upside down. Black is white, up is down, and instead of condemning this woman who made a blatantly anti-Semitic remark, by the way, what she said that got this whole thing started was the people who support Israel are being asked to pledge allegiance to a foreign country. Now, a survey was done of global anti-Semitism. You know, where is it more an epidemic than everywhere? Where do you need to take your anti-Semite pills before you get on a plane and go there? Right. And one of the places is sub-Saharan Africa, which is where Ilhan Omar is. And the way they did the survey is like, here are some very common canards that are used against Jewish people, and let's see how many people agree with them. And the one that most people agreed with in the part of the world that Ilhan Omar comes from, and her family is from, and lived there most of their lives, is Jews are more loyal to Israel than to the country they live in. That's the reigning stereotype in the place Ilhan Omar comes from. So when she gets up and she says, people have loyalty to Israel, the people who support Israel, the Jews and their supporters in Congress, the Jewish congressmen, have taken a pledge of allegiance to a foreign country, she's just repeating what she learned as a child. Mm-hmm. And they try. So anyway, they passed this resolution. Instead of condemning her for saying stupid stuff, they're basically condemning all Americans for supposedly saying stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But even further, what they've done is they have turned the tables and now used Ilhan Omar's, I hate the term, but I'll use it for the sake of this discussion. They have used Ilhan Omar's hate speech to lay the groundwork for future legislation making hate speech illegal. Everybody else's hate speech, that is, though. When everybody else says something bad, they're going to condemn it. When Ilhan Omar says something bad, they're not going to even mention her name.
Right.
This whole hate speech thing drives me crazy. There is no such thing as hate speech, okay? The Supreme Court has ruled that. There is no definition of hate speech. And when you get into that territory, what you're doing is you're regulating free speech.
Right.
And when free speech is regulated, it's no longer free. That's the direction they're going. That's the direction this whole thing is going. And we should not let it happen. We should not be fooled by it and even accept the premises, accept the terms of their argument, because it's evil.
Curtis, you're Jewish. What did you think? What did you think of the fact that Representative Omar's anti-Semitic comments, and they were very anti-Jew, anti-Semitic. As a Jew, how did you feel about the fact that so many Democrats were rushing to her defense?
That's the worst part. Look, there have always been anti-Semites, probably always will, right? These people are crazy, they're sick, they're ignorant. Some of them are ignorant, okay? I mean, I unlike crazy liberals in Virginia, I believe in redemption. I believe people can learn and change. I say liberals and crazy liberals in Virginia don't believe that because here you have a guy, a governor, 20, 30 years ago, when he was a drunken college kid, he puts on blackface and he thinks it's funny, and he thinks it's so funny he puts it in his yearbook. And now the liberals are all like, "Oh my God, we gotta get rid of them. We gotta throw them out." Well, why do you bother having racism education forums and seminars? If you don't think people can change, why do you bother teaching them? You know, I mean, so I'll allow that Northam has evolved in his thinking. And yeah, I did that when I was young and stupid, and now I'm not a racist anymore. And now I know that blackface is something for Al Jolson and not for me. So, okay, to answer your question. So, yeah, look, there have always been anti-Semites. I love Shakespeare. I read Shakespeare. Shakespeare was an anti-Semite. I don't stop playing his songs on the radio. I don't stop going to Shakespeare plays because he was an anti-Semite. It's the Democrats who have mainstreamed this, who are too gutless and spineless to call it for what it is and say this is unacceptable. They are now allowing they're now allowing anti-Semitism a foot in the door.
Right.
The point of my column is when you're dealing in socialism, you are really opening the floodgates as well to this type of hatred of Jews and anybody else who's unacceptable. But starting with Jews, and it's always the Jews, right? It's always the Jews. To the communists, the Jews are the evil capitalists. To the liberty-loving capitalist, Jews are communists. And there's always a reason that shows that it's an irrational thing. But the Democrats should know better. Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, the people that run that party, they should know better. But they don't. Either they do and they're willfully ignorant because they just want power and they don't want to offend the crazies in their conference. Right. Or else they're too stupid as well to realize what they're doing. They're accepting something that is evil and wrong, and they should not. You have to have your principles. You cannot allow evil to go unchecked, and they have just done that.
We're with Curtis Ellis, Senior Policy Advisor, America First Policies. Curtis, Pelosi, Hoyer, other more mature people in the Democratic Party know how bad this is. They're looking the other way because they're afraid. What are they afraid of?
They're afraid of AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, the crazies, the crazy caucus, the loony left. Those people are steering the party right now. As I say in the column, they hijacked the party, and it's no accident. Look, the socialists and the anti-Semites have hijacked the party, mm-hmm. and it's by design that the hijackers came on board together.
Mm-hmm.
They are anti-Semitism and socialism are two peas in a pod. They are born of the same sin,
right?
And that's who Pelosi and Stoyer are afraid of. It's like, oh, we're going to lose, but and I'll bet they go even further. And they have now projected, if they haven't thought this consciously, it's like, oh, well, this is what black people and people of color think. So we don't want to lose them, right? And
right.
So we have to allow crazy Omar to say this stuff. Otherwise, we're going to offend all the non-white people in America who will never vote Democrat again. I mean, that's kind of, you have to deduce that from the way they're acting. It's like, well, why can't you just say that this is really bad and she's saying bad things and that's that?
That's that.
Oh, but first of all, they're really afraid of AOC. AOC's running the party now. She's the superstar. Nancy is the figurehead. She gets to speak at the conference and appoint the people, but AOC, why would they put this freshman Ilhan Omar on the Foreign Affairs Committee, a choice assignment? I mean, this is not usually when you're elected. Freshmen get put on the Ag and Infrastructure Committee,
right?
The Agriculture and Public Works Committee,
right?
You get to weigh in on agriculture. You get to weigh in on sewer spending, right? How much money are we going to spend on roads and bridges and
you got to earn your way in. I mean, you get a little experience, you earn your way in. I mean, these people are freshmen and they get put on plum committees and foreign relations and appropriations. I mean, it's pretty amazing what they've done, and so they're emboldened by it. And they're you're right. They have completely hijacked the party, and they're taking over. And what is really amazing to me, Curtis, we've only got a minute, is that there's not a single Democratic presidential candidate who has rejected this whole thing. And I'm waiting for somebody to do it, figuring, there's got to be 25% of Democrats that are going to vote in these primaries that are sane, and that's all you need to win. I'm waiting for a McAuliffe or somebody to just come forward and say, hey, they're all crazy. I represent the original Democratic coalition of union members, of jobs, of getting the Rust Belt going, of getting out of these wars. They will not emerge because they must be doing polling, Curtis, showing that if they do that, they're dead. That's why there's not
dead
one.
In the primaries, because
they're dead.
Crazies to vote. Yeah, it's the far left that votes in the primary.
That's right.
They have mainstreamed anti-Semitism, made it acceptable, given it a way to come in. Yeah, the polling shows. Look, Bernie Sanders probably won the primary last time.
Right.
If Hillary Clinton hadn't rigged it, he won. Right? They never counted. They never revealed the vote count in Iowa. You know he won Iowa.
Yeah, he did win Iowa.
So the left wing of the party has won. They fought over, and the polling shows that for people like McAuliffe and moderates, this is no party for white men anymore. This is no party for moderates anymore. Once you have the electorate through the primary system picking the candidate.
I know, right?
But
it's crazy.
All that's required for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. That's Edmund Burke. And we're seeing it played out right now in the Democrat Party.
We're out of time. Curtis Ellis, thanks for being with us. You can read him, WND.com, and many other places. Curtis Ellis, Senior Advisor to America First Policies. Curtis, thanks for that enlightening discussion. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.